Welcome to Underdogg Stuff with Gregory Nesmith podcast. Up next, a new segment called Hustling Forward with unstoppable guest Kevin Y. Brown. The entrepreneur, author, and speaker shares about his hustle and tips for millennial entrepreneurs to hustle forward. Then, Kevin and Asha play the unscripted word association game, and we finish this episode with Asha putting me on the uninhibited Q&A hot seat. Enjoy this show and check out the podcast description for links to Kevin's Create Your Life series. Welcome back to Underdogg Stuff with Gregory Nesmith, live radio show and podcast that we do here every week on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. Shout out to all the underdogs who've been watching on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Gregory Nesmith, or listening on your radios riding around New York City. Appreciate you a lot. Today's show, Hustle and Flow. Who's hustling forwards, backwards, and just spinning their wheels in politics, culture, and personal life. We talked a lot of politics so far today. We just had a quick pop culture moment with Shaquille O'Neal doing some rapping.
Shaq's dissing LeVar Ball, Lonzo's dad. Yeah, I mean, you know what? At the end, he shouted out his parenting skills because, you know, for those who don't know, Lonzo Ball actually did play in the NBA for a short amount of time. And one of Shaq was basically insulting him, saying, you know, Lonzo got 2 points a game and Shaq is an MVP All-Star.
Well, we will.
Okay, well, I'm gonna just park that right there. I don't. I just think it's cool. You know, I think it's cool.
We may get into a little LeVar later. And folks who know, they can always search back to one of our old shows, which was The Balls, Are They Embarrassing or Inspiring, where we talk about them at length. And you guys know my point of view on them being more inspiring than embarrassing. But with that, we talk culture, we talk politics. Now it's time to talk about hustling forward in our personal lives.
Speaking of entrepreneurs.
Yes. And with us in the building, we have Kevin Y. Brown, founder of Create Your Life series, author, speaker, and on-air personality who hosts a show called Create Your Life series here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem, every Sunday. So folks who are listening live now, stick around for later this evening to hear more Kevin Y. Brown. And he's here in the building for us to talk about the hustle and flow in our personal lives and how millennial entrepreneurs can hustle forward. Kevin Y. Brown, appreciate you having you in the building.
Beautiful people, and of course, underdogs. What's going on? How's your Sunday?
Yes, indeed. It got better just now when you stepped into the building.
Right.
With that, let's get into it because there's a lot of underdogs out here who want to start their own business, who are interested in making it happen. And on Journey of an Underdog segments, we love to talk about the hustle, the flow, the grind, unexpected fun along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
When did you first dream about being this thing called an entrepreneur?
So mine's is kind of double fold. For me, it was pretty much the art of the hustle. When I was in second grade, I had this teacher, Miss Tolliver, and she used to always want me to help out the other kids. And so in exchange for me helping other kids out with their homework, I would either charge them a quarter or I would charge them one of those pencils, because back in the day we used to use pencils, one of those pencils that had like the NFL teams wrapped around it, you know, like the 49ers pencil or the Dallas Cowboys pencil or the New York Giants pencil. So I used to charge them a fee. You know, that was my fee, a quarter of that, in order for me to help you with your schoolwork.
How old were you when this was happening?
Man, I mean, second grade put you at about 7, 8, right? Yeah, so, but she definitely, she found out and got at me. And she, you know, she had this thing where she was from the South, and she would pull your ears, man, something serious. Miss Tolliver wasn't no joke, but it didn't stop the grind. I kept at it.
They're not allowed to do that anymore, are they?
Nah. She confiscated my pencils, too.
Man.
But
So,
I built up another collection.
okay, so second grade, already knowing that, not only knowing you want to be an entrepreneur, but already doing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as being an entrepreneur, I think it stems a bit from being a foster kid, and the fact that I believe in living life on my own terms, hence create your life. You know what I mean? Like, you can literally create whatever it is that you want. And so for me, I just always had the desire, like I would see people on TV who would have their own stuff. You know, like, you know, you saw the guys with FUBU, you saw like Diddy, and you saw these guys having their things. And so when I was little, I was literally 12 years old, man, me and my friends, we would get together and we would draw clothes. And I just started drawing clothes because I didn't have nice clothes. And so my foster parents wouldn't buy them. So I would draw clothes. And so like naturally, then it was like, okay, we should have our clothing line together. And so me and my friends came together and we was drawing clothes together. And then from there, it just kept evolving. So at 12 years old, I was like, I'm going to be a host for MTV. I'm going to have my own show. And, I'm going to have my own clothing line. And I'm going to get paid to be me. That's what I literally said. And so that's, still who I continue to be today.
I love that. And, it's interesting that you bring up your childhood.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, we learn things in our childhood. And then there's also some things we learn that eventually we hope to unlearn as we get older.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, your dream, it evolves with you. So, things may change or might look different depending on, how you keep choosing to evolve and, what it is that you're learning and need to unlearn.
Yeah, so you talked about some of the stuff you learned that was propelled you.
Yeah.
I know for me, one of the things I learned from my parents was to save.
Okay.
But to become an entrepreneur that I am now, in a way, that was good, but it wasn't enough because they weren't necessarily risk takers. I didn't learn how to lean in and do stuff. Could you share maybe about growing up, anything that you may have learned that you are now unlearning that may have gotten in your way to being the entrepreneur that you are now?
Unlearn. Things that I needed to unlearn. Ooh, that's a good question. What did I need to unlearn? I feel like you definitely have to learn to take criticism very well. In order to be an entrepreneur, you have to be open-minded. And I feel like oftentimes you could become very strong-minded about what it is that you have in your mind or what you're dedicated to. And you could be dedicated to the outcome, but don't be as dedicated to how – hold on, I'm saying that different. Don't be as dedicated to how it looks. Yeah, how you get there, the journey, but be dedicated to the outcome. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's something is really loosening up on, how it looks. Like for me on this entrepreneurial journey, there was a period of time where I was literally a janitor at PS7 on 120th Street. You know what I mean? I graduated in the top 10% of my business and fashion class in college with honors, everything. You would have never thought, but that's the only job I could find. But in order to, get this grind, in order to go after this dream, I literally had to do that for a year. And I'm talking about being disrespected by teachers, cleaning up, piss, throw up, excuse my language. You know what I mean? All of this stuff.
You know better.
Right. I'm sorry. But that's actually not a curse word.
I know.
But, you know what I mean? It's stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where it's like, by any means necessary. So what you said earlier is, I think one of the biggest things about being an entrepreneur and creating your life is being committed. Like you have to be all in. And that's something that I learned early on. Because earlier, you know what I mean, I was definitely just, you might tiptoe here and there. But at a certain point, you have to be fully committed.
So you mean there's no straight line to this journey you on?
Biggest myth.
I definitely think about being open-minded about how you get there, about the journey, about what it takes to make it happen, especially if you're an entrepreneur in a creative type of field, because a lot of creative people are very strong-minded about how they want to go about doing something and how something has to sort of look to a degree. So I think that is a really interesting thing that you said you had to you were like that and you kind of had to unlearn that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to work for, in my life so far, I've worked for over 7 self-made millionaires. Whoa. And one of the first ones that I worked for said to me, because I used to always ask for his feedback. I literally chased this guy down in order to get a internship with this company. And one of the first things that he said to me was, he said 2 things that I'll never forget. He said, number 1, it's better to have 30% of something than 100% of nothing. So that's huge in entrepreneurship and anything, because a lot of times people think that they need to be, the full owner or something. And it's like, dude, 30% of $1 million is better than 100% of 10,000 or nothing. That was huge. But the second thing that he said was, because I always asked him for feedback, he said, you're going to go far in whatever it is that you do in life because you're open to other people's feedback and seeing things differently. And when you talked about the 10 C's of entrepreneurship that I created, one of them is collaboration. And so even with that, I'm always asking you, Greg, personally, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it's not necessarily that I'm going to do whatever Greg's going to say, but it's the opportunity to listen to someone else's perspective and understand maybe that somebody might have wisdom or something like that you may not have. Yes. And so to me, I equate collaboration to being a superhero, right? So think about it. You could be Wolverine, or you could be Wolverine who has great powers, or you could be Wolverine with a little bit of Jean Grey, with some Rogue in there, right? With a little bit of Gambit, who's my favorite X-Men. You know what I mean? And some Beast. Gambit is
X-Men?
What? Gambit is smooth.
We have to talk about that later.
Gambit is smooth, man.
That's messy. You just
That's messy.
Nah,
Yikes!
man. Storm and Logan and Phoenix, man, and Jean Grey.
Hold on. Did you ever see when he went to the bayou?
I saw.
But Kevin won't know this, but Asha knows that I need to call a timeout because my pop culture awareness.
It's X-Men. It's not pop culture. It's
No,
cartoons.
I don't even know. I don't even know who some of these people are we're talking about right now. But anyway,
Where's your childhood, son?
I'm a little older than you. I
X-Men.
Bro, you couldn't have mixed
couldn't have
X-Men.
missed X-Men.
You watch who? He-Man?
Yeah, I watched G.I. Joe.
I watched G.I. Joe.
I watched
And they
G.I.
did the
Joe.
swimming thing at the end of every episode, and it was like, can you move your legs like the scissors?
But
I remember that.
but
He wants to move on.
I get the idea of collaboration though. And but shout out to the underdogs. Kevin makes a great point. Get excited about people giving you feedback. It really is one of the greatest things ever because it helps you figure out what's working, what's not. You get to learn from other people. You won't get better if the only reflection you get is from yourself. It's just not going to work out for you. And so I love that collaboration for you includes also getting feedback. Now, you mentioned there's C's to entrepreneurs, the 10 C's. Today's show is about hustling forwards, backwards, or in place. We want to talk about folks that hustle forward. What's of the 10 C's to being an awesome entrepreneur? What's one that came to you with your discussions or interactions with some of these self-made millionaires or guests you've had on your show? And what's one C that of the 10, this is like Kevin's hot button one?
Wow, man. Sheesh. I mean,
Now read off the 10 just so folks
Okay,
know.
yeah, 'cause I was gonna say, 'cause
just read the 10 C words and then one that comes up by some of the successful people you've been interacting with and one of them that just is top of mind for you right now in this moment.
So the 10 C's are, number one, the 10 C's of entrepreneurship. Kevin Whitebrow's 10 C's of entrepreneurship: compound, calculate, contribute, collaborate, consistent, be consistent, cope, huge, calendar, compensation, know your worth, complete, concentrate. And then, of course, if I say that I'll give you 10 on my show, then I always give you more. So also commitment, courageous, and create. Which one is the most important? Man.
Not even most important. Which one comes up the most in some of the folks who've been able to create their life? Which one seems to come up a lot?
Consistency and compounding. Because you got to realize it's going to take you a period of time. Right? You know what I mean? In order to get there. Like they say it takes 10, 15 years to become an overnight success. You don't want to be a flash in the pan. But the compounding is literally doing, if you say, oh, you know what, I'm committing to making, 20 touches to potential clients every single day. If you do that 5 days a week, that's 100 touches in a week. And then if you do it over the course of a month, every week, that's 400. But then you put that 400, the second month, that's 800. And you keep compounding. Like you can't lose if you're compounding. But it takes the consistency in order to be able to do that. So from those guys, man, I've learned that. And I've also learned, I guess another one would be calculate, because these dudes are aware of their budgets. And the richest guys that I've worked with have literally lived below their means. And that's something I know you've mastered, Greg, in order for you to get your first real estate properties and things like that. And I just always laugh when I see people wearing their money. I laugh in my head because I'm like, look, man, I'd rather be able to leave the country for the next 2 years and do whatever I want than to literally have a great car and a house. You know what I mean? If I can't have all of them at the same time, then that's the option that I would choose, is just to know that I don't have to show you anything, man. I look like a bum, whatever, but trust me, I got it.
I think that is so important, especially, y'all are two dudes, but as the sole female on the panel here, I definitely think that is so important for women as well, because there's a lot of women that you guys might not see what you guys might even understand what
highlights.
women pay money on. But it's like about, y'all, I've been getting a lot of compliments today. Oh, I like your dress, Asha. This dress was $8. You know what I mean? Like these slippers I'm wearing were a couple dollars. It's not, I'd rather spend my money on traveling and going places and doing things. And like, you got to be very choiceful about what you're spending your money on, and with dudes, you said it's cars and it's this. I definitely see the value in spending money on homes for sure.
Yeah.
But, spend your money on things that are going to make you more money in the long term. And a lot of women get caught up in, I'm going to save up this $800 and buy these Louboutins. Like, you know what you could do with $800? Like, are you nuts? I'm going to save this $2,500 and buy, this bag. And it's like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why would you not put that money towards, something that's more important? So
Yeah, no,
I'm in total
I
agreement
agree.
with you.
a big deal in the consistency. I saw a meme the other day that talked about most people get stuck in the start, like they just don't start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But over time, I'm really starting to become more into, it's not about the start as much as it is about the grind, the consistency.
Yes.
Like, I know a lot of people who do what we do, right? They've started podcasts
Mm-hmm.
or they've started shows, and they start them,
Right.
and then one week you're not feeling well.
Right.
The next week you got to travel someplace.
Mhm.
The next week you got something to do for your other main hustle, and that takes priority.
Mm-mm.
And so I'm starting to notice a lot of people start,
Right.
but the consistency, the commitment over feelings
Got to be all in.
is what gets you to that 10-year mark so that you can be that overnight success, so to speak.
It's a book, 6 Months to Six Figures by Peter Voogd, and he talks about that. He says unsuccessful people, and I'm not quoting exactly, but the gist is unsuccessful people operate off of feelings. People who are successful operate off of the desire or the understanding that they have to get this done because there's a greater reason why they're doing it.
Yes.
And that reigns so true. Like recently when I was abroad in Barcelona, Ibiza, and Paris, just hanging out.
I love how you just,
Humble brag. Humble brag.
I didn't stop producing. We weren't on air. My show wasn't on air for those 2 weeks, but that podcast still came out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so you got to be all in. You either committed or you ain't. You either in or you out. And there's no in between. There's no gray area.
So, and I know we're going to talk about some of the quotes that keep you going and other millennial entrepreneurs going. But before we go there, in reference to the consistency or the commitment,
Mm-hmm.
when you're getting in your feelings, because I'm going to assume that you're human and that you have days or moments or minutes or seconds where even though you may know better,
Mm-hmm.
that your feelings start bubbling up
Right.
and may get in your way. How do you break through and keep your consistency knowing that there's going to be days where you're not feeling it?
So that's one of the 10 C's is cope. I think that for that, your morning routine helps. A part of my morning routine, it's an acronym, it's SPARM. So it's stretch, pray, listen to my daily affirmations, which are nothing. It's 10 minutes of me saying positive things about myself. I am happy. I am healthy. I am this. I am that. Right. So it's my affirmations. Then I read at least 10 pages, and then I listen to something motivational. So lately I've been listening to a lot of Evan Carmichael's videos. Right. I'm talking about this dude has some really, really amazing top 10 videos. Maybe take you about 10 minutes to listen to. That helps. Other than that, sometimes I do have to stick my head in the pillow and literally scream. You know what I mean? When things are it's just like, dude, I can't believe that this is happening, or it's overwhelming. So when I'm overwhelmed, I'll take like a 20-minute nap, like literally put a timer on my watch. And then also my friends. That's huge, man. The people who you call, and I call them like my high counsel or my advisor. So I have a group of people who I can go to with anything, and literally they understand me. They know who I am. Like I'm artistically crazy, but you know what I mean? They'll be like, okay, Kev, well, nah, you need to, look at it like this or look at it like that. And then some of it is self-counseling, but if it's too much, then, that 20-minute nap is coming.
I think you just added another C. I heard circle. Your
Oh.
circle is mad important.
Add that in there, then, sister. Come on now. I appreciate that. Hold on.
We collaborate.
Right. Exactly. Collaboration.
I
We're
love
talking
it.
about talking in circles.
Right.
No, I love that because it's slightly different than collaborate.
Yeah, it is.
Because there can be a bit of like that personal circle or those that keeps you going.
Yeah,
Mhm.
That's both professional and personal.
But they got to be on your level.
yeah.
That's the thing, is that whoever you're talking with, their work ethic needs to either be better than yours, or they need to be of the same caliber. Now, sometimes you might, like, for example, like my god brother is in a different industry, but he knows me better than anybody in this world. So if I go to him and I'm like, yo, am I tripping? Then he'll be like, yeah, you tripping.
I mean, there's a difference between your circle and your family, you know, like.
But he's on that high council.
Yeah.
So, like, fam is cool, but like my god brother, he's in a different lane for me.
But that's what I'm saying though. Like, the same rules for your family and you know don't apply to the council or to the circle.
Well, yes
you can't be.
I'm not gonna
none of my
not
family
talk
could
to
be in
my
a circle.
family.
If they're not in a.
Well, to the underdogs out there who may be listening, this comes up a lot, right? Like how to deal with family, friends, professional stuff, things like that. You get to have boundaries that work for you.
Yeah.
And as a result, I don't care who they are in relationship to you. If the boundaries that you have with them currently aren't serving you, taking your energy down, not helping you or them, then you get to create new boundaries that are a little further away. You can love people from afar. And then the same token, folks where you guys are building each other up, helping each other move forward, you can have those boundaries be even closer, regardless of how you're related to them. Would be how I would counsel people in relationship to that don't worry about whether they're family or friends. Just worry about how you guys are supporting each other or not, and you can have people love up close or from afar.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to hear about some of the quotes for millennials to live a good life and hustle forward. And then also, I want to make sure folks know how to get in touch with Kevin Y. Brown, because I'm sure they're going to want more of creating their life. More Underdog stuff and our guest Kevin Y. Brown on today's show, Hustle and Flow, after this break. Welcome back to Underdog Stuff, live radio show and podcast. Today's show, Hustle and Flow Part 1. Who's hustling forward? Who's hustling backwards? Who's just spinning their wheels? In politics, culture, and personal life. And for personal life, we got Kevin Y. Brown in the building. Founder of Create Your Life series, author, speaker, and host on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. And we're talking about how millennial entrepreneurs can hustle forward.
Yes.
And you were sharing before we went to break about some of the C's to being a hustling forward entrepreneur.
Yep.
Let's talk about some of the quotes or sayings that you and some of the folks you've interacted with live by so that they can hustle forward. I know that recently you did an episode around some of the 10 quotes for living for millennials and entrepreneurs. If you could share one of them that was from one of your guests, and then of course I want to hear one from Kevin Y. Brown. Okay.
One of the quotes, I actually wrote an article for Huffington Post and Black Enterprise on this, and it's called the 10 quotes by trailblazers, black trailblazers that everybody should live by. And so one of the ones that sticks out to me most is by Dr. Raphael Moffitt, who was a guest on the show, who's also the head of student activities at Texas Southern University. He said, believe with the period, not a comma.
I like that.
And the reason why is it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Ashin and Greg, is you have to be all in. And at a certain point, when it becomes uncomfortable, where you feel, and you in the room, and you feel that sense of heat that comes over you, where you just that uncomfortable, and you want to respond, but you can't, and things may be going wrong and stuff like that. You have to literally throw Plan B out the window and be like, "This is what's happening in my life, and I'm not accepting anything else." And so, believe with the period and not a comma is huge to me.
And it's one that oftentimes I find generates a lot of debate.
Mm-hmm.
Because what will happen is sometimes we have loved ones in our life who, from a good place, want us to have Plan Bs. They want us to have commas. They want us to have a just in case.
Yeah.
And the period is a big deal. You make me think about Napoleon Hill, who in his book Think and Grow Rich talks about burn the bridge.
Dude.
Because, I'm not trying to go back. But I think folks should... we're always saying, be responsible, right? We're still saying, make sure you got food and shelter and things like that. But it's okay to go all in, because once you go all in, it either works, or if it doesn't,
you learn.
Have no regrets, you learn, and then you try something else.
Well, for me, it's deep, right? So, number one, when you listen to those people, when somebody's trying to give me advice, number one, I'll be like, do we have the same capacity? Friend or family, doesn't matter. We have the same capacity. Can you do what I do? Are you speaking from experience or are you speaking from a place of fear? Right? And then I'll listen or not listen. But that goes back to, circle. Yep. Right? I have these people.
Circle, yeah.
Yeah, circle. Thanks, Ash. You know what I'm saying? The 11 C's of entrepreneurship. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, I got to take my royalties by check, son.
It's all good. But, it's deep like that because you have to say, like, I have these people who know me, who understand my grind and my commitment. And so I'm listening to them. So if somebody outside of that circle says something, I'm going to take it in. But, my best friend, Josh Martinez, he says, yo, eat the chicken, throw away the bone. So if it's not, good meat, then, throw away.
On that note,
throw away the bone.
Kevin Y. Brown, let's get your quote.
As Gregory always says to me, keep it PG.
That was PG.
I need a PG Kevin Y. Brown.
My mind isn't PG, so where I was going.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to the next
I'm trying to figure out if she was thinking about the meat or the bone, but
I'm thinking about the next quote.
I'm gonna leave that right there on the dinner table.
So a quote by me. One of my quotes, I have two in my head, but I think one that's important for millennial entrepreneurs and everybody else is, I am the brand I say I am. And I made that quote up a long time ago when I was actually giving presentations, around the world. I had my audiences chanting that because I wanted them to understand that they're in control of their destiny. And to me, that matters more than anything when you're on a journey to create your life or to do something that hasn't been done. Oftentimes there's a blueprint, but more times there's not. Yeah. And so therefore you have to literally create it. So you have to literally believe inside that this is what you can do. And you're the person who decides whether or not the decision to become whatever you want to be in life ultimately lies in you.
Underdogs, I want you to rewind that if you listen to the podcast and listen to it one more again, because there is a saying related to my Philadelphia 76ers called trust the process. You're making a face, Asha, but watch how I bring this back together. I often tell folks the remix isn't about trusting the process, it's about trusting yourself.
Yes.
Because for all I know, the process that you're looking at may or may not work again. It might have been a one-time thing. You don't take the journey the same way someone else does. But trusting yourself is key. And as a result, then you figure out what works for you. Because can't nobody do it like you do it.
Exactly.
Nobody.
Sometimes it's a blueprint. Oftentimes it's not.
It's not.
That's another quote. Kevin Y. Brown. I'll take that.
I like that.
Take that.
With that, Kevin Y. Brown. If folks and underdogs listen out there want more Kevin Y. Brown, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, you can tune in on Sundays from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to listen to the Create Your Life series radio show live, or you can download it on podcast. We release a new episode every Friday at 8 a.m., and that's available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Play. Also, createyourlifeseries.com and, of course, kevinyBrown.com. I have a YouTube page with all of my speeches, my TED Talk, everything is up there. So please feel free to reach out. You can tweet me at Kevin Y. Brown on all social media. Reach out. I love to stay in contact with people and really be immersed in the culture and, seeing people move forward.
Hey, man, we appreciate you coming through on this episode of Hustle and Flow Part 1 and definitely giving the underdogs out there some ways they can hustle forward.
Oh, man, thank you. It's an honor. Thanks, Ash. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll just stick around because we have a couple more things to do before we wrap up the show, which is a new segment we call Unscripted, which is the word association game where I say a word or phrase, and the guests, the Underdog Stuff team, folks in the studio get to say 3 words back. Okay. It can be a sentence in 3 words or 3 separate words, but I'll say a word or phrase. You get to say your 3 words.
I'm in.
Unscripted word association game. You ready?
I'm in.
All right. We talk a lot of politics, so I'm not going to do a politics one.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to do a culture one.
Sound like it's getting real.
LeVar Ball. 3 words.
Do I get to explain the 3 words or just give you the 3 words?
3 words first. Everybody wants to explain stuff. No prep. 3 words first. Word association.
LeVar Ball.
And for folks who don't know, LeVar Ball is the father of Lonzo Ball, a very popular basketball player and basketball family now.
Father / husband, so that's only one.
Nobody follows the rule there.
Yeah.
Father.
I'm a foster kid, bro. I ain't following no rules. Genius. Whoa. Let me recant that.
Father, genius.
Commentator. He talks a lot of mess.
Father, genius, commentator. Asha. LeVar Ball.
Shack these balls.
What?
That's one word.
No, shack these balls.
Like LeVar Ball.
Yeah.
Oh.
In
She's clever.
In the diss track.
She is clever.
Shaq Diesel. Shaq. No? That's their last name. That can't be a 7-second delay. That's their.
Me and Mello against him and Shaq with.
You think you like me?
All for Shaq's diss track.
You ain't like me, but you like me? You a punk.
All right, let's go. We got 3 minutes.
All right,
Oh,
so my
man,
three
that is
words
awesome.
for LeVar Ball, I'm going to say showman, entrepreneur, misunderstood.
Nice.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes. And those are my three. I'm rolling with team
Ball.
Ball. Yes.
Or you
Y'all
rolling
are-
with the balls, ain't you?
Yep.
I'm
Y'all
rolling-
are on the balls.
I'm
Y'all
rolling
with the balls?
I'm rolling with BBB.
Oh, don't type that in a search bar. I'm gonna tell you that much right now.
Actually, I'm
Is
rolling
it time for
I'm rolling the uninhibited.
I don't even know what that
because I'm
means.
gonna get in, I just
Now I
don't
wanna
even know
know
what to
it.
say. Asha, uninhibited Q&A. I don't know what you're going to inquire about.
What is a way? We've been talking about hustling forwards, hustling backwards, hustle and flow. What is a way that a woman has hustled backwards with you?
Ooh, a way that a woman has hustled backwards with me. That's a good one. Kevin turns his mic towards me. Hustle backwards. What do you mean by hustle backwards?
Anything you want it to mean, boo.
Well, I think what comes to mind, how's a woman hustle backwards with me, would be, well, I mean, you could really hustle backwards if you try to talk about in your circle, hollering at somebody in my circle.
Oh,
That
that
could be-
is the ultimate.
That's a way to hustle backwards with me.
Mm-hmm.
Another way to hustle backwards with me is to like just not be loyal. Yeah. Lack of loyalty. And also, I mean, I don't get a lot into the signs, but I'm a Scorpio. If some people say that Scorpios like have a mean sting or like when they get crossed, I'm real chill and low key. But I don't like to be crossed. And that brings some of the Philly out of me.
All right, so you it brings a Philly out of you? Oh shoot, you grow a beard and turn into Beanie Siegel up in here? Oh shoot, stay prop.
Shout out
Do
to
not mess
Joe.
with his circle. You stay prop
You
you.
had the baby face at one point, and now you got the beard.
Get down or lay down. Okay, thank
Hey,
you.
The beard's part of this entrepreneur life too.
I really appreciate it. So, ladies, if you don't want to hustle backwards with Gregory, do not mess with anyone in his circle, and remain loyal.
Yeah.
Good.
These women are loyal.
I wasn't gonna go there.
No, because it's time for us to wrap up the show. Shout out to all the underdogs who listen on WHCR.org or on the radio airwaves on 90.3 FM while rolling around in New York City. Also, folks that joined us on Facebook Live, we appreciate you so much. Please come back again next week. Shout out to Kevin Y. Brown, founder of Create Your Life Series, who stopped by today for an episode Hustle and Flow, helping underdogs hustle forward. And shout out to the Underdog Stuff team, Marlon, a.k.a. M. Dot on the ones and twos, and Asha Davis,
Hi.
award-winning ad exec,
Yeah.
and showing off her comedy writing.
Okay, 2 out of 3 this week.
Yes, indeed. We'll go for 3 out of 3 next week. And with always, if you missed the live show, the podcast will be available tomorrow on iTunes, Podomatic, Stitcher, all the places you love to listen to podcasts. Search Underdog Stuff with Gregory Nesmith. And I leave you, as always, with my favorite quote, Underdogs. Can't nobody do it like you do it. Nobody. Thank you for listening to Underdog Stuff with Gregory Nesmith podcast. New content available every week. And I leave you with my favorite quote, Underdogs. Can't nobody do it like you do it. Nobody.